House and Ball. He got me rocking my red. As you all know, I'll be up in Pittsburgh throughout Game 6. We'll be tweeting from there and Facebooking and all that good stuff with maybe some surprise visitors as well. This guy was a surprise visitor at my Delta Hotel on the television about 2 weeks ago. I was staying in Scarborough, Canada. I knew Doug McClain has done television there for a number of years after working so many years in the league. But as much as my relationship with Barry Trotz is old and tried and true, before Barry Trotz, there was Doug McClain here in Baltimore as the Skipjacks head coach. He's now down in Florida hanging out, working on a tan, but also working on some hockey during the midweeks up at Rogers Sportsnet in Canada, flying back and forth. You might have the best gig in the National Hockey League, Doug McClain. I mean, tell everybody what you do. You got a good gig, man.
Well, it's funny. I was talking to Kenny Holland a couple of months ago, and he said, Doug, it's a joke. I mean, it's a joke, your job. I'm taking all the heat, taking all the pressure, and you're in Florida relaxing. But you know what? 22 years in the league, it was the TV has been a nice break, and I've kind of actually I was doing it now 7 years or so, and I've kind of enjoyed it. So it's different, but it's you're still in the game. And it's a few laughs.
Well, and it's laughs until it's Game 5 and you're down 3-1 and you're Barry Trotz and you got home ice and you got the best players in the league. You got the best player in the league. You got Crosby off the ice in Pittsburgh. It's been as rocky and wild a run, and I know all of your roots go back to the Capitals organization, and your relationship with Trotzy goes back further than my relationship with Trotzy. Some thoughts about where the Capitals are in this whole thing, because they can certainly win 2 games here, right? I mean, there's no doubt that they can do this. The question is which team shows up and how the bounces go, quite frankly.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I wasn't overly thrilled with their first round against Toronto. I didn't think they looked very good. I thought they looked nervous for the most part of it. I thought Holtby was just okay. I mean, compared to how great he was during the regular season. I mean, bad bounces, I get all that. I just didn't think they looked as comfortable as they should have against a relatively inexperienced Leafs team. They played nervous at home, better in Toronto, but still not anywhere like I thought they'd play. But I'll tell you what's jumped out at me in this Pittsburgh series. I'm nervous about their back end. They look slow at times, and this is a quick Pittsburgh team. So they've got to make sure they contend. Last game, better. Last game they were better. They defended better. They didn't get caught in as many odd man rushes. But they've got to be so cognizant of getting caught with these rushes. I mean, Columbus got buried with odd man rushes. Washington have guys like Orpik, and they have got to play it unbelievably smarter. They're going to get caught here time and time again. So, hey, right now, I mean, hey, it's gonna, they can go into Pittsburgh and win and come home for Game 7. This is the pressure's on Pitt now to close it out at home. Or it falls back in the Caps' favor. But I'll tell you what, they still have to be better. There's no doubt in my mind that the Caps have got to be better.
Well, I mean, you've been in these positions before from a leadership perspective, a coaching perspective, backs against the wall. I mean, Chicago took a facer as a 1 seed right away. These are the toughest playoffs in sports. I mean, every single year we see this happening. I mean, look at what the Nashville Predators have pulled together here in the last couple of weeks, and my heart bleeds a little bit, Dougie. I mean, I got a closet full of Predator stuff that, I used to go down and visit Trotzy all those years in Nashville with David Poile, but seeing those fans excited there, I mean, that's really what it's about. They've battled for 2 decades to get through this, but, Trotz has been up and down this river. He does have the best players. How do you make Ovechkin and Holtby and the stars of the Capitals right now? Because they're only going to go as far as those guys take them at this point.
Yeah, and you know what? It's extreme pressure, because I'm telling you what, you know it as well as I do, Nestor. If they lose this series, this could be a dismantling of this group. Trotz is safe, Brian McClellan's safe, I get that. But this group will not be together if they don't win this series. There's just no way. Obviously they got 10 guys that are RFAs or unrestricted, so it's going to change anyway, but I still think it's going to come down to a great effort in Pitt. I picked Pitt to win this series, but I don't know why. It was because of the Toronto series that I picked Pitt to win this. But the Caps can still win it. They're good enough. They're deep enough. Kuznetsov looks like he's getting it going. That line has been pretty good. They move Ovi down to the third line. Totsy's a great friend of mine, and I have tremendous respect for him, but some of the moves, I'm watching him with Ovi playing 12 minutes one night or 14 minutes. I'm watching the Ovi being pulled. He's trying everything he can to get this group going, and full marks for him.
Well, I mean, when you say full marks for him, he's doing things that not everyone would do, right? 3-1 game, game 2, you pull Holtby.
You want to believe it. I'm not doing it. I'm not taking my guy in a 3-1 game who's been the back. I'm not taking him out. He did. Holtby comes back the next game and was better and more focused. So credit for that. I wouldn't have done it. The same as I wouldn't be playing Ovi 14 minutes in Toronto either and saying, well, I don't know what happened. I lost him on the bench. I mean, seriously. So he's had to do some tough things. So full marks if he wins the series. If he doesn't win the series, he's going to take some heat.
Where were you on the Niskanen hit? Hockey move, not hockey move. Obviously, there's been some history there up and down the river. Obviously, he's the best player in the sport, Doug. I mean, taking him out of the game,
yeah.
I would have been okay if Commish says, "Hey, Matt, you got a sick game 4. I mean, Sidney's not playing, you're not playing." That's how. But I know Niskanen didn't play game 3 either. Ovechkin winds up getting away scot-free. At least should have been 2 minutes there. But I didn't think it was filthy. I didn't think it was premeditated, and I didn't think it was any sort of intent to injure.
I was doing the game on Sportsnet, and at the time, for me, it was a play that, okay, I didn't like the Ovi slash. Okay, so it's 2 minutes. So that I didn't like. It should have been penalized. It was, to me, a hard slash going to the net. Sid didn't seem to have a problem. I didn't have a problem with Niskanen. I mean, to me, you've got Crosby falling. You've got Niskanen. I don't know what choice he had other than a reaction-type play. I said it at the time. I was fine with 2 minutes. I was fine with 5 minutes. He got the game early in the game. That was his suspension for me. I don't think he deserved any more. I thought the league made the right call on it. I hate seeing Sid get hurt. He's one of my favorite players, one of my all-time favorite guys. I didn't like seeing him go out, but to me, I didn't have a problem with it. I really didn't. You love to see Crosby in the game for the game, same as you love to see Ovechkin in, and you love to see all the stars in.
Doug MacLean has been my friend for 3 decades. It's been a long time since we've caught up. You can follow him out on Twitter, and hundreds of thousands of folks do out at Doug MacLean. That's MacLean.
And don't bother me. If you're going to follow me, don't piss me off.
Why? Well, I was pissing you off 30 years later, and you still call in.
As I said, if they swear at me on Twitter, they're gone. Gonzo. I'm not a big Twitter guy. I put up with it, but I don't really like it.
Well, all that being said, your time behind the bench and then working on the other side of that, you got some real Baltimore roots here. I mean, I'm assuming at that tender point in my career as a teenager, and yours as sort of a teenager of coaching and getting yourself where you wanted to be, this has been a hell of a journey, right? I mean, I guess into television for you. I don't know that I ever saw you as doing what Don Cherry does for a living, quite frankly.
You know what? I had it was a great run. Baltimore was a great experience. I mean, I was there a few months from the Caps, but I mean, we were 2 years living there in Crofton. We loved it. We still chuckle at it. My son he was born in St. Louis, but sort of spent a couple years at the Skipjack and Caps games. We laughed about it in the old pictures. But you know what? It was a great time with the Caps and the Blues and Detroit. I mean, when you have 22 years, I loved the time in Florida. We loved the time in Columbus. It was a grind, when you start an expansion team. But it was a great run, and I'm sort of enjoying this now. My son's an agent now in Chicago, so I stay in the game. I'm like a player agent assistant is what my full-time job is, working with him. So actually, I don't get paid for it. It costs me money, but I do it. So I'm having fun.
Do you miss a chance to win the Cup? I mean, there's something about that, guys like Trotz still trying to touch it at this point. Guys like David Poyle, quite frankly, who's moved a step closer to touching it. I think that's a hard thing that doesn't come every spring for you, right? When it's come for 30 years the way it did for you.
No, you know what? I got a chance to coach in the Stanley Cup Finals with Florida, and that was a dream situation. But you still are always upset that you didn't get a chance to do it. That's what everybody's in the game for. That's one of the main reasons you hear the players all talking about the cup, the cup, the cup. It's pretty special. It's tough to win, but that run in Florida and going to the Stanley Cup Finals was a treat. But yeah, you miss it, And look, I still miss the competitive fire. I've interviewed for 2 or 3 jobs over the last 5 years and didn't get them. But hey, I've got no regrets. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I had a great time, and I have a lot of friends in the business, and life's good.
This whole thing started because Steve Seftel, former Skipjacks player, whose jersey I own and wear, who is now my Facebook friend, wrote on my Facebook 2 weeks ago when I was in Toronto, Doug McLean said something nice about you on Canadian television. And the worst part, Dougie, is I had you on that night in my hotel room. I saw you on television, and I don't know whether the volume wasn't up, but I missed it. But apparently he heard it, and he gave me a shout-out, and 2 weeks later, here you and I are talking hockey for the first time in a quarter century.
I've got a great Steve Seftel story, who was such a nice guy with the Skipjacks. Okay, he was a second-round pick, I believe, of Washington. So anyway, I'm coaching in Detroit after I leave Baltimore. Steve Seftel's playing in his first NHL game with the Washington Capitals against Detroit in Detroit. So I'm on the bench during the warm-up, and Seth skates by me, and I call him. I said, Steve, I said, don't be uptight. Congratulations on your first NHL game. But I just told Bob Probert that you're the new tough guy they just brought up from the minors. So keep your head up.
And how did that go over?
And Steve wasn't really a tough guy. He was just a solid, real good kid. Oh, he looked at me like I had two heads. Anyway, so Proby didn't bother him. But
he thought he was back in Oshawa probably at that point.
I didn't say it to Proby. I just said I did.
Oh, right, of course. Just the intimidation game. That was always the thing that got me with you, Doug, was that you were like the psychology major. You came with all these of professorial things. I always felt like you were evaluating me, Coach.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, the smartest thing I did besides get your career started was I hired Kenny Albert as the play-by-play guy for the Baltimore Skipjacks. That's my claim to fame, and Kenny and I laugh about it every time I run into him. So I did do the odd good thing in the game. I got your career started because you were like a nobody when I met you.
That's correct.
And now you and Kenny Albert are stars.
Well, you know what? You got Kenny the gig, and Kenny got me the gig, and because I live here, I never left. You're off in Florida sunning yourself. By the way, we had some.
You could become the next Jeff Rimmer if you're really lucky.
You know what? I had his son Josh on 2 weeks ago from Toronto too, so there's a lot of bloodlines there. I mean, you set Rimmer's career up out there in Columbus, right? Didn't you?
Washington, Florida, and Columbus. I carried him for 20-plus years.
I'm going to make sure I point that out with Jeff when I talk to him with the improving Columbus Blue Jackets. Doug McLean joining us here from Rogers Sportsnet up in Canada. One-time Skipjacks coach, long-time coach, and hockey executive now, doing television and taking his cheap shots that he never could take when he was the coach. By the way, can I tell a funny story about you? I don't know if you remember this one or not, but so I watch Barry Melrose here in America. I watch him on Sunday before the games, and every time I see Melrose, and I run into him every 5 years somewhere at a hockey rink or wherever, and I remind him of the story. He was the Adirondack Red Wings head coach. You were the Skipjacks head coach. It was a playoff series. It was hotly contested in front of, 1,200 Skipjacks fans during those days in the arena. If you remember, the ice was all, steam was coming up because it was May in the arena. The doors would open up and all that stuff. So you guys got into it on the bench. And I don't even, Robin Bawa was involved or whatever. And there was literal Jeff Greenlaw, right. You guys were nose to nose on the bench at the arena. It was like something out of Slapshot. The game ended. And I knew Melrose pretty well from all the years of him coming through here and all the years of me covering hockey. And I went up to him, I said, well, what was being said down there? And Barry said, Dougie was going to hit me with his purse. and I printed that, and I didn't know, whether.
Oh yeah,
but
it was a famous line. But the one thing you forgot to ask Barry since is who won the series.
I will bring that up 30 years after the fact. Doug McLean, you're having fun. One last thing for you here, because you were one of the guys that really I did cut my teeth on. You were a tough coach. You were always honest, but you always made me work to do what I did. And, where Ubriaco was a little bit more, and Terry was a little more paternal in my case, you were more like... prickternal, from a parental. You were the one that was really going to check the homework, not just give me a B+ and pass me through. That was your end. But I had never been up to your part of the world and where you're from. And I know you have PE Island roots, and I know we had like Tyler Larder and I think Kent Sumner. We had some players that were from that place, and they would always tell me you couldn't get off the island without a boat. And my wife and I went to see Springsteen in Moncton, New Brunswick on holiday about 5-6 years ago before my wife got cancer.
Wow.
And we went up there and we drove around to Shediac and the Lobster and Hopewell Rocks and the High Tides and all of that stuff. But we got to PEI, and all I could ever remember is you guys telling me how wonderful it was. And they had built a bridge, and they wanted $43 to cross the bridge to get lunch. And I loved it.
Only one way, though.
No, well,
you only have to pay one way.
But it's $43 to go into what's the name of the town? Province. What's the name of it? Charlottetown. That's it. All right. So Charlottetown. I was going to go in just to get lunch and experience the village life that you had expressed to me many years ago. And we got to the bridge and we got out on the lighthouse. I looked at my wife and I'm like, if it was a boat ride, we would have spent the $45, you know? But there's something about, and we watched the video of them building the bridge that didn't they take a loan from the richest guy on the island, right? And this money literally just pays for the bridge, right? But I still have never been to PE Island because I cheapskated out of the $43. I just wanted to let you know.
And you know what? It's 43 Canadian, so that was like $30 US, seriously. Give me a break.
Not at the time, it wasn't. No.
By the way, that bridge is right in front of my cottage. I watched it for 2.5, 3 years being built right in front of my cottage, and it's actually now 20 years it's been there. It's amazing. $1 billion it cost.
When I saw it, I thought about what an incredible marvel it was. You know, I think that all the time. I got a building going out next to me, but that bridge is incredibly impressive. I mean, it really is, and I would highly recommend anyone that wants to spend the 43 Canadian to cross in, to go into Doug's homeland up there in PEI. Hey, it's great to hear from you, and I don't know what nice things you said about me on Canadian radio, but it did, or television, but it did make its way to my desk, and I am appreciative for what it's worth.
Oh, no problem, bud, and good luck. I hope things continue to go well for you. And by the way, unbelievable golf in PEI. It is the golf destination of Canada now, by the way, so just keep that in mind for your listeners.
When I was there, lobster was $2 a pound. I think I gained 15 pounds. It was crazy.
Okay, bud.
End of season. Be good. See you, Dougie.
Take care, Nestor. Bye.
You got it. Doug McLean, our old friend 30 years ago. Now at Rogers Sportsnet up in Canada, calling hockey, and, of course, one of the founding members of the Columbus Blue Jackets, as well as the head coach of the Florida Panthers. I should have asked him if he has any of those plastic rats that they threw down on the ice back in the day. I will be in Pittsburgh for Game 6. They're going to give me, sell me the whole seat, but I'm only going to use the edge of it. I'm pretty sure Game 5 was fast and furious on Saturday night. Ed Frankovic and I were on the scene there. If there's Game 7 on Wednesday, we will be there. I have a little travel week ahead here, going to Pittsburgh and keeping up with the Orioles taking on the Nationals as well as the Wizards in this thing. We're still recapping the Ravens and the Ravens rookies in this weekend. Luke Jones will be joining us for all of that. And you can find anything you miss out in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear. You can listen live when you want, where you want, how you want. It's how we do it here at WNST.net. The morning newspaper ships to your email inbox at 7 a.m. each and every morning. That's powered up by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. It is still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life. There's a Planet Fitness right around the corner from you. Don't forget, Thursday, Dennis is going to be here driving you home 3 to 5. It is the SSV on WNST. And, of course, the Orioles this weekend taking on the Kansas City Royals, heading out to Kansas City. If you're heading there, get some barbecue. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Preakness coming in a week and a half from now, too. So lots of things going on around here. And if there's any breaking news, as there was on Tillman and the Orioles moving guys up and back and forth, you'll get it all first on the WNST Tech Service. That, too, brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. And the SSV is here on Thursday from 3 until 5. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live, and taking you to London, Nashville, and Green Bay with the Ravens. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.